So today, we're going to dive into the world of Gretchen Rubin. She's the author who really kicked off this massive global conversation about happiness. We're going to unpack her famous happiness project and a personality framework she created that honestly might just change the way you think about your own habits.
Okay, so it all kicks off with a question I bet we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why is it that some people just decide to go to the gym every single day, and then they actually do it? No problem. Meanwhile, for the rest of us, that same New Year's resolution just kinda, poof, disappears by February. Well, that exact question, it's right at the heart of Gretchen Rubin's work.
For Rubin, the whole journey started with this huge aha moment she had on a city bus. And it's a super relatable feeling, right? That sudden realization that, wow, the days feel long, but the years are just flying by. And maybe, just maybe, you're not focusing on the things that truly matter. That one thought sparked a year-long experiment she called the Happiness Project, and it turned into a massive bestseller and a true cultural phenomenon.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Out of this very personal project, Rubin developed a whole framework for understanding human motivation. She called it the 4 tendencies. And it's a simple, yet surprisingly powerful way to figure out why we do, or, why we don't do, the things we set out to.
The entire system really boils down to this one simple concept. We all deal with 2 types of expectations in life. You've got outer expectations, think a deadline from your boss or a friend asking for a favor. And then you have inner expectations. Those are the goals you set for yourself, like wanting to meditate every morning or finally start writing that book. The key to everything is how you respond to these 2 different forces.
First up, we've got the upholder. This is that person who just loves schedules, rules, and a good to-do list. They meet work deadlines without any drama, and they also magically stick to their own personal goals. They're the ones who wake up for a 6 a.m. run simply because they decided they would. For them, their motto, "Discipline is my freedom," is absolutely true.
Next is the questioner. Now, a questioner needs things to make logical sense. They push back against arbitrary rules, and they need a good reason for everything. They'll meet a deadline, but only after they're convinced it's important. They'll start a new diet, but only after they've done hours of research to prove it's the most efficient, logical way to go. They basically have to turn every expectation into an inner one.
Then we have the obligers. And get this is the largest tendency. There are more obligers than any other type. Obligers are amazing at meeting commitments to other people, but they really struggle to meet the commitments they make to themselves. They never miss a client deadline, but can't find the time to work on their own passion project. The secret for an obliger is all about external accountability. They need that workout buddy, that book club, that coach to help them show up for themselves.
And finally, the rebel. Rebels resist all expectations, outer and inner. If you ask them to do something, their first instinct is probably to do the exact opposite. Even telling themselves, "I am going to the gym at 6 a.m., can feel like a trap. What they really want is freedom, choice, and to act from a place of identity. For a rebel to do something, they have to want to do it right in that moment because it's who they are.
And wow, has this idea taken off? It's clearly struck a chord with people. We're talking more than 3 million people have taken the online quiz to discover their tendency. We're all looking for the same thing, right? To finally crack the code on our own behavior. So here's a quick recap that really makes it all click. As you can see in the table, the upholder meets both inner and outer expectations. The questioner questions outer expectations and will only meet them if they become inner ones. The obliger, great with outer, struggles with inner. And the rebel, well, the rebel resists both. It's a simple little grid, but it makes the whole model so clear.
Okay, so it's a popular framework, a lot of people are into it. But the real question is, does it actually hold up in the real world? Let's take a look at how these tendencies actually play out in practice.
And this is the big question, isn't it? Is there any actual science to back any of this up? I mean, it's one thing to be a fun online quiz, but it's a whole other thing to be a genuinely useful tool.
And it turns out the scientific community is taking notice, especially in the world of healthcare. One researcher, Paul Lavender, laid out 3 really good reasons why this framework is so valuable. First, it's not trying to define your whole personality. It's just about how you respond to expectations, which is huge when it comes to, say, following a treatment plan. Second, it suggests that if you fail to stick to something, it's not a character flaw. It's probably just a mismatch between your tendency and your environment. And third, it's simple enough that busy doctors and nurses can actually use it.
And this quote from a published scientific paper just brilliantly sums up the potential. It says, "The model offers a patient-specific strategy that's easy and inexpensive to administer. I mean, just imagine a doctor knowing their patient is a questioner who needs all the data, or an obliger who needs weekly checking calls. This could be a total game changer for helping people stick to life-saving treatment.
Okay, but it's not all praise in scientific papers. Of course, no big idea is without its critics. So, to get the full picture, we have to look at the other side of the coin, which often comes down to one word: privilege.
A key point of friction is Rubin's take on money. She suggests that, yeah, money can help buy happiness if you spend it wisely. But critics, especially online, are really quick to point out that just having the time and the mental space to even start a happiness project comes from a place of financial security that a lot of people just don't have. It's a critique that says this whole self-help culture is built on a foundation of stability that isn't available to everyone.
And the critiques go deeper than just privilege. You see comments like this one from a Reddit user that bring up other really specific concerns. Some people find her advice about food habits to be problematic. Others feel her tone can sometimes come off as a bit self-righteous. It's a good reminder that public reception is always complicated, and one person's life-changing advice can feel totally out of touch to someone else. So, where does that leave us? After looking at the framework, the praise, and the criticisms, what's the ultimate takeaway here? How should we think about this whole happiness playbook?
You know, when you strip it all away, the most important message in Rubin's work isn't "do what I did." Not at all. It's about using self-knowledge to figure out the path that is right for you. The key takeaway is that there is no single, magic, one-size-fits-all solution for happiness. And one of our most practical tools is this idea of writing your own personal commandments. These aren't resolutions, like go to the gym. They're big, guiding principles for your life. Think about a rule like act the way I want to feel. That's not about being fake, it's about knowing your actions can actually shape your emotions. A simple phrase like do it now can be a super powerful weapon against procrastination. Or there is only love. Just a reminder to lead with empathy. It's really all about defining your own values to create your own happiness project.
And that brings us back to the big central question. After digging into the framework, the real-world applications, and the valid criticisms, what's the final verdict? Is this stuff a revolutionary guide to self-improvement, or is it just well-packaged advice that comes from a place of privilege?
But you know what? Maybe that's the wrong way to even look at it. Perhaps the value of Gretchen Rubin's work isn't in giving it a thumbs up or thumbs down. It might be better to see it as a toolkit. You can take the tools that work for you, like understanding your tendency or writing your commandments, and just leave the rest. The goal isn't imitation, it's self-discovery.
So, I'll leave you with this question. It doesn't matter if you're an upholder, a questioner, an obliger, or a rebel. If you were to start your own happiness project right now, today, what would be the very first single rule you would write down for yourself?